investors, and welcome back to Stocks to Watch, where we spotlight companies shaping the future of technology and investment. Today, we're diving into one of the fastest moving areas in robotics, humanoid AI systems, and the company gaining global attention for its innovation and rapid growth. Realbotix is trading under the TSXV as XBOT, the Frankfurt Stock Exchange as 76M, and the OTC in the US as XBOTF. So Realbotix has emerged as an early mover in commercial humanoid robotics, driven by advanced capabilities and its well-known robot, Aria, which continues to generate market and media buzz. She's one of my favorites. Joining us now is Andrew Kiguel, co-founder and CEO of Realbotix, to break down market trends, the company's progress, and why investors should be watching XBOT heading into 2026. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ashley. Good to see you again.
Yes, always a pleasure. So to kick things off here, how big would you say the humanoid robotics market is right now, and what will drive future demand?
Right. So the humanoid robotics market today is probably quite small. I think it needs to be evaluated based on where it's going. And really, that's because we're creating a market. We're not selling televisions or dishwashers where you can accurately estimate the size of the market today. What we're really doing is looking at the future and how humanoid robots will be adopted into the mainstream throughout society. There are some statistics that I can share. Morgan Stanley came out with a report this year, and they estimate the humanoid robotics market to be materially larger than the global auto industry within 20 years. Citibank, Goldman Sachs all estimate that the humanoid robotics market is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar business. And the last piece that I'll share with you is if you talk to some of the smartest humans on the planet, like Jensen Huang and Elon Musk, they would describe robotics as the single largest business opportunity in human history.
Wow, fascinating. Those are some really impressive
Modest
numbers.
goals, very modest goals.
Yeah, very impressive numbers that you share there. So, what would you say, as far as adoption is concerned, the biggest barriers that you're seeing, and how is Realbotix working through those challenges right now? Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Yeah, the biggest barriers right now are getting products to market that work and are reliable and useful. There's also things like safety concerns, like what is the accuracy of the data, having the right guardrails on the AI and having it do what you want it to do. I think there's a challenge in taking robotics from being a novelty or a gimmick into actual utility for humans to use. So the way Realbotix approaches this is completely different than everybody else. We are a unique robotics company, and I'll explain why. Every single other robot company out there that I'm aware of is focused on creating robots to do physical tasks. So like wash my dishes or move boxes in a warehouse. We don't think about robots that way. We think about robots in customer service, companionship, entertainment, schools, hospitals, assisting people to feel better and assisting nurses and doctors with getting feedback and input from patients.
Yeah, so you're looking way beyond just the basic operations of what a robot can do. So, Andrew, I'm very curious as to some of the key moments as we close out 2025, entering 2026, that you would say really moved the company forward.
So we started off the year really positively. In 2024, nobody knew who Realbotix was. Nobody had ever seen our robots. And we showed off our robots for the very first time at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, in January of this year. And I think we've talked about it before. The response was incredible. 4 billion media impressions, millions of views by YouTubers, and constant activity. One of the busiest booths at the entire show. That really kicked off what has been a really exciting year for us, which is showing off our robots in places like Dubai, Berlin. We put a robot in Times Square recently. We left a robot in Times Square for 5 days, just talking to people on the street. We've integrated in the ability to use different AI so that our robots can integrate with ChatGPT or Perplexity or Llama.
Mhm.
We've had them now develop the ability for them to actually respond to you in over 100 languages. And of course, the biggest development is the vision system, which we will be unveiling more fully at CES in January. And our target is to have a robot there that can not only see you, but can talk to you about what it's seeing and actually make decisions and act autonomously based on what it's seeing.
So like observations. So like observe something and it can actually
So
make a
actually, that
decision.
would be very easy. Observations are easy, but we actually want it to take action on the observation. So for example,
Huh.
if it sees you, it could be like, hey, you seem really happy. What's making you feel like that? If you look sad or upset, it could ask you like, hey, you seem a bit upset. Can I tell you a joke? Further to that, if it sees somebody fall, it can be like, look at them and be like, hey, do you want me to call for help? If
Wow.
it sees, we actually have this thing that we're integrating in where it will be able to look at you and say, oh, Ashley, we've done an analysis and we think you'd look really great in the color blue. We have some new shirts here in store that are made out of cotton. Would you like to try one on? And we can do that. So you can use it as sort of a personal shopping guide using AI to give you very interesting and accurate information.
That's just fascinating. And it also kind of goes back to the companionship that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And that interaction and sort of that human connection, which is amazing. Um, so I'm really curious. You said you put a robot in New York for 5 days, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
about all the tourists and all the languages, and I know you're integrating all that. What was the reception from the tourists there and the residents?
Yeah, it was wild. And so no other robot company, to my knowledge, has the confidence to just throw their robot in the busiest intersection on the planet.
Yeah.
And we opened up the doors. It was at a store called Tomorrow, which is a high-end new store in Times Square. And we opened up the sliding doors and we had the robot. We had Aria facing the street. And at first, we were very cautious, like, okay, what's going to happen here? People were approaching, and people would start talking to it, and we would like talk to it in a different language, and it would start telling jokes in Spanish, or German, or Swiss, whatever the people were asking it
Yeah.
to talk in. And she was waving and calling people over. She was describing the store and describing herself. And then at one point we said, we've been here watching this for a few hours. We gotta go. We want to go eat because we had our team there. It's a big, big thing to just leave your robot in Times Square.
Yeah.
And so there was a security guard and we roped her off, but left her on. And we went for dinner. We went for sort of a nice dinner around the block. We had a couple glasses of wine. We're like, how do you think Aria's doing? We walked back 3 hours later, and there she was having conversations with people on the street, talking, telling jokes, and I was really at that point sort of amazed with our own technology and proud of our devs for putting this together, which is an AI and a robot that can function autonomously
Yeah.
without us being around or telling it what to do. And I think that's a real breakthrough that I have not seen any other company do. All of our peers have these cyborg metallic robots that are controlled remotely.
Hmm.
We have a human looking robot that can function on its own. And that's a really big distinction between us and everybody else in the robotic space right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just seems like you're such a disruptor in the industry in a very, very good way. And you're
Thank you.
so innovative and yeah, it's just fascinating. So let's look ahead to 2026. What are your top priorities and what should investors be watching for?
So we want to continue to grow the business. So new advancements in the technology. What we have today is amazing, but we want to develop highly dexterous hands so that the robots can do more than sort of wave or shake hands, but we want them to be able to do things like type on a tablet or open up a pill box or to feed somebody. So for in healthcare, that would be something that would be very valuable. So that is one of our goals. Second goal is we want to increase sales. We're going to have hopefully some very good big partnerships to announce soon that will impress our investor base. So we want to continue to build on that momentum. We need to start establishing more sales. And like I said, we're in a new market. We need to convince people that these are useful tools. And I think the last piece is that from a capital markets perspective, we're really exploring how could we move to the NASDAQ. We think that giving people in the US better access to our stock through the NASDAQ would be something that would create a lot of shareholder value, which is obviously a key thing we want to do.
Yeah, it sounds like many milestones on target for 2026. So, for those that may be just learning about the company, are aware of it, or even current investors, why would you say that adding XBOT to their portfolios in 2026 and beyond is something very prudent for them?
I'll give you my investment thesis. So, if you look at every other robotics company that's out there, they all have billion-dollar plus valuations. We're currently trading about a $55 million valuation, so significantly lower. And I
Mhm.
think part of that is the fact that we're just not super well known yet. So you have this discrepancy. When you look at all these other companies, they're all building cyborg metallic robots to compete with each other in what I would call the physical task, physical labor market, which is moving boxes around or things like that. And frankly, none of them have managed to bring that vision, that dream to fruition yet, to sell it properly, an autonomous robot that can do that. Our robots, because they're focused on more of emotional, intellectual things, human interaction, require far less investment and they're ready and we're selling them now. So we have a lower valuation, I would say a larger end market with no competition. And that to me is the reason why somebody should consider Realbotix in their investment portfolio.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that. And obviously, rapid revenue growth, as you talked about, expanding capabilities, major 2026 milestones on deck. Best of luck uplisting on NASDAQ, hopefully in 2026. Obviously, XBOT remains a compelling stock to watch. A big thank you to Andrew Kiguel for joining us today. And of course, you can learn more about Realbotix at realbotix.ai and follow the company under the TSXV as XBOT, Frankfurt 76M, and the US on the over the counter XBOTF. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.